Hello, everybody. My name is Elizabeth with Demonstrated Success. Thank you so much for taking time today to learn with us. Today, we have the wonderful Heather Jenkins. There she is, our Seesaw guru. And Ann Mordecai and myself, Elizabeth Dion, are on as well to help answer your questions and just kind of help keep this on track. It's going to be a large number of participants on, and we're so grateful you're here. Heather was able to give this webinar on Thursday, again, to a lot of people, and it seems like this might be something that we offer again. We'd love your feedback on it, but we seem to be getting a lot of interest in it. So again, it's using Seesaw with your remote classroom, and we're going to get started.
Okay.
The only person you're going to see right now for a few minutes is Heather. I am keeping myself off screen, as is Anne, and I believe Heather will take herself off as well, so you can just see the PowerPoint without.
Yeah, I can. It's a little less distracting to have my video off and things like that, but everybody, thank you for coming. We can see that the number of participants is climbing a bit, so we'll probably just go slowly through the first few slides so we can make sure that everybody kind of gets the majority of information. One of the things that I did want to add is that we did have the ability for you to ask questions before or as you were signing up for this webinar, and we have about 150 questions, most of which will be answered during this webinar. So I would encourage you to go in the Q&A as we are going. If for some reason I'm not answering a question on a specific area of Seesaw. But if there are some, I do have some circled here that if I don't get to them throughout the webinar, I will try to answer as many as I can at the end. So yep, if you have anything as we go, make sure you pose it in the Q&A right there.
I'd like to just remind people as well, you will be able to watch this webinar at a later date. It will hopefully be posted to YouTube by tomorrow afternoon. We did do the webinar on Thursday, and we're going to take whichever session seems the most condensed and easy to follow for you, although it should look the same. So you'll be able to watch it repeatedly at your convenience. You will also be sent an email that will definitely be sent tomorrow that will include your professional development certificate for you to print out yourself. It will have the PowerPoint in it, so you can always refer to that, as well as questions answered. Questions that you'll hear asked today, we'll just post, you know, on a document for you to download and review at your leisure as well tomorrow. The email will also contain a survey, and we'd love for you to take time to answer it, letting us know how we're doing and what else you would like to see from webinars from us. We're here to help you. So if you have to leave this meeting, it's not a problem to anybody that needs to jump off, and anyone can watch it at any point in time. So feel free to pass to your colleagues.
Okay, so I'm going to turn my video off right now and we'll get started. The webinar is very similar on Thursday, was the whole hour, so I don't want to go over. So we'll start it up. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that my screen won't change. There we go.
So we want to say thank you to the New Hampshire Department of Education for giving us these webinars and encouraging us all to learn and become better teachers, whether it's remote or in person. Thank you to all of you for your dedication to your students and to yourselves to become better professionals. This is good for everyone. And we recognize this is a hard time in the education world, so we hope this webinar helps ease a little stress with using a new platform. And again, everyone will be muted. Please enter a question in the Q&A section. We will do our best to get you answered right away. It might take a little bit. Please have patience with us too. We appreciate it. And if at the very end of the webinar your question was not answered or you've come up with something else, feel free to ask us then or send an email later on. We wanted to bring your attention to a website, NewHampshireLearnsRemotely.com, sponsored by the Department of Ed. It's filled with some wonderful information for you, not just to learn new things, but to also take care of take care of yourself and watch out for your own well-being.
So I just wanted to put this slide in, a gentle reminder. If the plan doesn't work, change the plan, but never the goal. So just a reminder that our goal is just to make sure that we are reaching our students and helping our students learn what they need to learn. And I know we've had to be flexible with our plans, whether it be remote, not remote, hybrid, or things like that, but our goal is exactly the same, and that's the students. So the goals for today, we're going to go through a general overview of Seesaw. You guys are going to learn how to set up a new class, add students and invite families. You're going to be able to assign activities, and you're going to be able to accept and comment on activities. So the first part is sort of what is Seesaw. We have a lot of people who are brand new to Seesaw. So I just wanted to share this slide with you so you could sort of see a general overview of what it is. For the most part, in a nutshell, it's a digital portfolio for students. It keeps all of their information and their lessons sort of in one place. It is completely student-driven, where students are able to share their learning and celebrate their learning with their teachers and parents and family and things like that. It allows kids to access learning, super teacher-friendly, and it allows kids to reflect on their learning and teachers to also reflect on student work. So how it works is the students are going to show their learning, their teachers are gaining the insights, and the families are able to connect. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information right here about the families connecting piece. One thing you will notice right away is that the family view of Seesaw and what they see is not exactly the student's view, so you just need to keep that in mind. For parents and the families, what they're going to be viewing is activities that have been submitted and accepted by teachers. So it is finished work that parents will then be able to comment on. But if parents and families are looking for which activities students need to do in Seesaw, they need to make sure that they're logging in with their child and looking at it from the child's point of view. So just a little bit of information on that. Also, I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about the different versions of Seesaw. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of which version they are going to be using for their schools, but everything that I'm showing today is going to be in the free version of Seesaw. So just know that regardless of what version, the lowest version is the free version, so you will be able to do everything you see here today. Just to point out a few things that are considerations for different versions of Seesaw is where I have started here, the teachers per class. That's a pretty important thing for you to know which version you have, because you can see for the free version of Seesaw, you can only have 2 teachers per class. Seesaw Plus allows you to have 5 teachers per class, and the Seesaw for Schools allows you to have 20. Also, this next line here, active classes per teacher. This is important specifically for, I see that we have a lot of UA folks or specialists here. UA people are going to want to have their own classes for Seesaw. That's kind of a recommended way to do it. So you're going to want to make sure that you have Seesaw Plus or Seesaw for Schools. And I'll go over that a little bit more as we get to it. Also, the number of activities that you can save and share and things like that is much different depending on which level of Seesaw you have. You'd be surprised how many activities you end up putting in there. So the free version, you're going to run out pretty quickly. We'll talk about the school-wide activity library a little bit later, and then being able to schedule activities to be sent out at a later time. It's just for Seesaw Plus or Seesaw for Schools, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. So how do I set up a new class in Seesaw? When you're creating a new class, if you are brand new and you're the first one putting it in and your school has just set up but not set up classes for you, most I just want to go off and let you know, most schools will at least set up the teachers. That's how you get your username and login and things like that. And you might have to create your own students, or if you used it last year, you might need to create a new class this year. So this particular screen with the brand new account, not very many of you will see, but just in case this is what you see when you log in, you're just going to click create new class. For most of you, you're going to be adding a class to an existing account or existing school. And so on the main screen, you will click this create new class button. That will bring you into a screen that looks like this. You are able to create your class either by entering kids manually, or you are able to import from Google Classroom. This particular webinar does not get into Google Classroom very much. We have had some feedback that maybe you'll want to see how you can use this with Google Classroom, so that might be something we talk about in the future. But for today, we're just going to create the class and not import from Google. If you do import from Google, it imports all your students and things like that. So just a heads up. So if you're creating your class, you are going to be adding some general information in there. First thing is your teacher name. Then you're going to add in your grade, and you're going to click the check. Once you do this, it will bring you to your main page, and your home screen will look just like this. You will see here that your class is right here that you've just created. And then you can see if you had other classes that you had there in the drop-down menu here. So I just wanted to go over a few other important class settings. So once you set up your class, you can go into your classroom settings here, which is the little wrench. And there's a lot of different settings that you can change to make it your own. So for example, you can change the color, the theme, the icons that you see here. This MJ for Mrs. Jenkins can be changed to whatever icon you would like. You can create folders for organization. A lot of people were asked about creating folders, how to organize your Seesaw. A little bit more than what we're going to get into today, but know that you can create folders. I believe you can create up to 150 folders, which I can't imagine anybody needing. But you are able to create folders. Let's say, for example, you wanted to create a math folder or a reading folder or a writing or science, social studies, whatever you would like to create. You can create those folders and attach activities to a specific folder so that it's organized a little bit more easily for you to be able to access those activities and for students to see them as well. You can also enable a blog. Somebody asked about doing blogs, so you can. We won't be talking about that today. Again, it's a little bit more advanced than our basic, but we might do something with those in the future. Other important class settings that I just want to make sure that you're aware of, because these do default to specific ways. So you want to really talk about these for team. This is student likes and comments. Students can see each other's work, and new items require approval. This is super important for you to talk to with your teams because you want to be consistent. Depending on your situation, you may or may not want students to see each other's work. I was teaching second grade last year, and we did not enable that for students to see each other's work because students were already sort of nervous enough about sharing their work and their recorded voices or things like that. So we decided not to do that, but that is a capability that you're able to use and be beneficial for your students. You just need to talk with your team about it. This other part of the class settings, enables sample student, is really helpful to be able to test your activities and things like that and see what activities look like from the student point of view. So one thing that we won't get much into today is what the student view looks like. I know we had some questions about that, but again, we'll kind of keep that in mind for future webinars. So how do I add students and invite families?
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
One of the questions is, how do you add students to a class? when they're all in separate classrooms, but they're all students that I work with across the school?
Well, this is what we're going to get into right now. So it's the same thing that you do regardless of whether it is somebody in your specific classroom. If you are somebody who is a specialist and you are not necessarily going to just be a co-teacher, let's say you do Title I or support students in for RTI or for WIN or things like that. But there's a few different ways that you can set up accounts. I do know that for us, for our UA folks, I know we have a lot of UA folks out here and you're wondering what is the best way to set up our accounts. I'm going to just go back really quickly to looking at some of these things for the settings, or just adding students or creating a class in general. UA folks last year had a single UA account for all of the UA teachers, and they created folders from within it. So you had a media folder, you had an art folder, you had a music folder, or things like that. And they had one class account, but the way that we did it is that, like, you have a Mrs. Jenkins class, so you had a Mrs. Jenkins UA, you had a Mrs. Smith UA. So every classroom teacher had their own account, and then UA created their own classrooms for each one of the classes that they had. And that worked last year because they did it in sort of a group model. This year, each UA teacher is going to be creating their own classroom account for every class that they have, so that it's a little confusing for students. And as long as you set up your students to be able to log in with an email address, they will be able to toggle through all of their UA classes and all of their regular classes as well. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like here. So I'm going to continue to.
We do have a bunch of questions. You want me to maybe before you go forward?
Sure.
Okay. Can you be a classroom teacher for more than one class if you have different grade levels learning in one remote class?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. You just create, like, again, if I were a music teacher, or if I were even a 7-8 math teacher, I can have classrooms for every single one of my physical classrooms that I have. Second grade, we usually just have a single classroom, but like our music teacher this year is going to have 3 kindergarten classrooms, 3 first grade classrooms, 3 second grade classrooms, and things like that. So yes, that's why they're on the Seesaw for schools. There's the ability to have so many classrooms in there.
Okay, I'm a permanent sub in my classroom. Is there any way to be added to a teacher temporarily so I can fill in the teacher's absence? It sounds like this person is going to be a floating permanent sub.
Yep, you would just be a co-teacher. So in settings, it would be manage teachers, and you would add somebody as a co-teacher. That co-teacher, this is one of the ways that some people do UA, and it gets a little bit confusing because if you add UA as a co-teacher, that co-teacher sees every single activity that's submitted, even if they're not necessarily adding the activities in themselves. So for example, if my class last year, second grade, Heather Jenkins, I had a co-teacher as if I had made my music teacher my co-teacher, any activities that she added, I would see submitted, and any of the 3 activities a day that I put up, she would see. So it would be it gets really confusing. So also, if you're a classroom teacher and you put your Title I person or a para as your co-teacher, you just need to be very clear about which activities are maybe put on by a Title I person or a support person to the teacher. So there's different ways to set that up. As a para or as a sort of Title I tutor or reading helper or things like that, you can create your own classrooms and add those students in if you would like, and they should be able to toggle with your classes and their regular classes as long as you set it up correctly with the email addresses.
We do have more questions, but once you go on for continue, and then we'll ask them.
Yep. So just to show how to add without email addresses, you are going to add students. So for those people who don't have individual email addresses for their students, you would go into the classroom settings here. You are going to choose add students. It says, do you want students to sign in using their Google account or email addresses? This is a little bit confusing because it has the circle with the line through it, but this is the way that it shows up on the screen. So if you're going to choose no, I do not want to add them, you are going to just click on that no. So here's what you need to know. If you do not add students with a specific email address, Seesaw does not know how to link them to other accounts or other classrooms within Seesaw. So if you are adding students this way without email addresses, they're just going to have to log back out and log into a different classroom if they are part of more than one classroom. So I highly recommend the second way we're going to do it, which is adding with email addresses, but I just wanted to show you this way as well. You can choose whether they're using shared devices or one-on-one devices. You just choose an option here, and then you add the students either at a time, or you can paste a list of students either from Excel or another spreadsheet and add them in all at once. You click the green check and good to go. It will bring you to this screen here, which is a print student sign-in poster. If for some reason you didn't add all your students and you need to go back, you could do that. So you can print their sign-in or access codes. As soon as you do that, it will bring you to their a print screen. Every student will have his or her own learning code, and you'll be able to either download that or I tended to save mine as a PDF. And then once we split PDF and we were able to send that to families because we were working with younger kids. So you also do not have to print the access codes right away. Most of us are adding our students and then going on to other things, and we'll want to print our access codes from a different place, and that's totally fine. You can just close out of that screen and print them at another time. So adding students with email addresses. So you're going to go do the same thing, classroom settings, add students, and this time you are going to say yes. As soon as you say yes, it's going to bring you to this screen, and it's going to say email students with instructions. And that's going to be the email that you are going to copy. It skipped. Yep, there we go. So you'll be able to email that to any student that you would like and be able to copy and paste that email to them. So if you do that and you still want to get student access codes for kiddos, or you didn't print them out right when you added them, you are going to be able to choose the Get Home Learning Codes right from your main screen. And it will bring you to the screen and you'll be able to choose which way you want to do it. If you choose print codes, you can save that as a PDF and then get all of your home learning codes that way as well. You can also download and send it anyone you would like. So, are there questions? I figured there would be questions. Okay.
To get to some. Sorry, I gotta find the first one. Sorry. I'm looking at the chat, that's why I can't find them. Can you choose an activity by activity? Can you choose an activity by activity basis on an activity by activity basis? Sorry.
Okay, I will get into the activities in just a little bit.
Okay.
Are there any questions about adding students or?
What makes them unique? Hold on. Some are coming in chat and some are coming in questions.
Yeah, can we ask everyone to put their questions in the Q&A section? Ann and I are having trouble monitoring both. There's so many coming in, which is wonderful. But if you can all put your questions in Q&A, then we can see that. That would be super. Thank you.
I don't see a lot about getting signed in here.
Okay.
Somebody wanted to know, the 100 folders, is that in any version of Seesaw, and
I believe it's in any version of Seesaw.
is it per classroom? It's not per teacher?
I believe, I don't know, I mean, I don't think it might be per classroom. I don't think it's per teacher. It would be per class that you have, I believe.
And this one, the UA, it says that students need to hand it, but I believe you can upload students, right? You don't have to hand it.
I believe that my, most of the time tech coordinators or administrators are adding them in, and I believe he did upload them. Yep.
Where can we learn more about adding folders?
We'll try to get a Seesaw webinar figured out, but it's very easy. You go into the classroom settings and there's a folder and you can add the folders and you just name them however you want to name them.
Okay, great. And a lot of people are sending in new topics for webinars like Google Classroom and organizing Seesaw, things like that. So please, that's great. Please keep doing that.
Okay.
Beth, are there any others that you saw?
No, I think if we can have people put their questions in Q&A and their comments in the chat, you know, their webinar suggestions or comments that anyone can see in their chat, but their questions in Q&A, that'll be easier for Heather to go through it at the end as well and make sure we hit them. And if we can just let her do that presentation, I think a lot of these questions being sent in are going to be shown as the webinar continues. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, so inviting parents. This is a really important piece, I feel like, of Seesaw, is being able to have parents view their students' finished work. So you're going to go into the classroom settings. Once you're in classroom settings, you want to make sure that the Enable Family Access is turned on. It defaults to off, so you'll need to turn it on within classroom settings before you can invite families. Once you're in the classroom settings, you will see, just like we had the add students, it says add families. And then you are able to choose a way to invite families. You can either invite them with their email address or mobile phone number. One of the questions I had before was, can you do both? And yes, you can do both. You just click on that, add another family member, and put in, if you put their email in first, then you would then put in their mobile phone number second. And then you can do this, you put this in for every single student so that their families can have access. Right here, the invite status, you can always check that to see which families have accepted the invite and gotten in and which ones you might need to touch base with again. Okay, so how do I assign activities? This is the question of the day. So I just wanted to go through just some of the different ways that people use Seesaw and some ideas of types of activities you would do in Seesaw. So you can record instructional videos. This was a question that somebody asked, is how do I upload my videos or things like that? We're going to go through that. Annotate text and write text and talk. So this is everything that students can do. You can build community through Seesaw. And you do math problems in deep dives and explain thinking. I found a couple of websites that I thought were pretty interesting. One of them is 20 ideas to use with Chromebook for K-12 classes. It doesn't necessarily need to be Chromebook. It can be an iPad. It can be whatever. But there's some kind of interesting thoughts for how you can use Seesaw. And then there's just a blog that I saw that I thought was pretty interesting. A lot of what you are going to be using in Seesaw is also in there. So we'll talk about that in just a second. So assigning activities. To assign activities, you can be on the activity tab here. It will say browse activity library, or if you click this add button, there's 3 options there and you can choose add activity or assign activity. And it will bring you to a screen. I'm showing you how to add an existing activity. One thing in Seesaw that I think made it a little less daunting for me when I first started using it is that there's actually a library of already created lessons in there. Again, this was one of the things that I talked about in the beginning. Depending on which version of Seesaw you have, there's more activities available to you. But this is the only screenshot I have in my whole presentation that isn't a free version screenshot. But specifically because if you look here, the free version, you will not see school here. You will just see community and my library. So just to talk about the different types of activities that are or different areas. So the community library includes activities that are shared by other Seesaw users outside of your school. So you'll have access to other people's work so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. If you have the school library, that includes the activities shared by other Seesaw users within your school. And my library includes any activities that you've created. It also shows any activities that you've assigned or liked or things like that. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. Underneath the different libraries, you can see that there's a lot of different search criteria you can use. You can choose the grade level. You can choose a subject. One of the things that we got a couple of questions on was, is there anything for foreign language or things like that? There is. So in the subject dropdown, it does show that there are some foreign language activities that are also in here. And then there's also just the ability to search off of a specific topic of activities. So what I've done here is I have searched for fractions. Because I created a Seesaw account classroom for 4th grade, it automatically knew that I was in 4th grade and that I was looking for fractions for 4th grade. You can always change this here because maybe you are looking more for a 3rd grade and you just want a review or something like that. That's fine as well, but it will default to your grade level. Just to show you a little bit more of things that you want to look at with the activities, as you drill in a little bit, you want to take a look at, you see how many people have liked this activity. It's pretty important. It's kind of like social media. If there's a certain amount of likes, that means it might be a better activity than others, or just a lot of people have used it in their classrooms or plan to use it in their classroom. The other thing is, once you like an activity, what I had said just before with the My Library is that as soon as you like it, it shows up in your library. So if I'm going to be doing a unit on fractions, I can go through, search fractions, and just hit like to all the activities that I think I might use. And then they will show up in my library and I can search for them or look at them in my library. So that's pretty important.
Just a question about assignments. Can people change whether they share assignments or have other children see assignments on an assignment by assignment basis?
Yes, we're going to go right through that. Yep. So other things to kind of know about activities is once you look at a specific activity, there's a couple of different things that can happen. You can click on the person's name who created the activity, and it goes in every single activity that person has created. I have to be quite honest, I've only gotten into that by mistake because I thought I was clicking into the activity, but it brought me to this person's page. You might find it important. I didn't find it as helpful because I wanted to get right into the activity, which is the name of the activity that will bring you right into the activity page. So that's what I would do. So just by clicking on it once, it brings you into the actual activity. So this is the way you're going to assign. If you wanted to just take this activity as is and assign it, you would click on the assign button. This is directly correlating with the question that you just had, or George just had about, can I do specifics and send this to specific students? And you can. If you click the assign to one class, it does it automatically. No warning, no nothing. So if you're really ready, go for it. But that was not something that I used very frequently on purpose. You can always go back into your activities and delete it to get it out of there if you wanted to assign it for another time or things like that. The edit students, folders, and skills. So this is where you can get into that sort of organizing by folder and taking a peek at assigning it to specific students. So you can assign it to just one student, you can assign it to all students, you can assign it just to your sample students so you can see what it's going to look like or things like that. So you can choose one or more students to do that. This next one is sort of, if you have Seesaw that's free, this is sort of the little bit of a psych button because you can see it's grayed out here. So if you have free Seesaw, you can't use this, so I apologize. But for everybody else, which I feel like schools are at least getting Plus or the Seesaw for schools, but it allows you to schedule an assignment for a specific time and date. I use this all the time because it would be a Friday afternoon and I would want to make sure that at 7:30 in the morning, my kiddos were able to have these activities available to them. And it may be that I was not necessarily up and ready to go and wanting to get everything done that early in the morning, so I could assign it for a later date. All right, so that's the way you assign an existing activity. I really want to go into copying and modifying existing activities because this is what I did all the time. I took most of the activities that I did, I somehow took a shell from somebody somewhere and modified it. Even if I created my own templates or anything to go with it, I at least used the sort of skeleton of another lesson. So to do this, you just need to make sure that you've liked it before you modify it. It won't let you make any changes or anything before then. So just make sure you click on the little heart. Once you do that, you kind of open up the activity here and you can see these three little dots. The copy and edit activity is what you're going to choose. I just want to go on a quick little tangent here. I had a lot of people ask, how do you share your Seesaw lessons in Google Classroom? I'm not going into it in this. I don't want to confuse too many people that are brand new to Seesaw, but this little share activity here down on the bottom is the way you're going to do it. Again, hopefully we'll have another webinar coming up that's a little bit more advanced and I can show you how to do that. But for right now, just keep that in the back of your mind that you can share activities. You can paste them in an email, you can paste them in your Google Classroom or whatever, and it will bring kids to the actual activity. You can also share it with a staff member via email or whatever. But for right now, we're going to copy and edit. I want to go through this screen because a lot of questions came in about how you add things to different activities and what you can put in. So this part up here is obviously the activity name. You want to be pretty specific with your activity name. There were some times where we would say, if you just named an activity character traits, then if you have more than one activity that's on character traits, it's hard to find the one you're thinking of. So you want to say character traits, activity 1, or character traits, Thought Stanley, or whatever, however you want to name it, to be able to make sure that you know which one's which without having to drill into it. On that white section that we have there where this person has said color the functions, I would not say that this is detailed enough necessarily for what I would put out for a Seesaw lesson. So the space you have here can be used. Every single lesson I did, this is where I stated my learning target. Kids need to know their learning targets. They need to know why they're doing it. So I would highly recommend putting in a learning target every single time. Also, it's super helpful to put in steps. Step 1, open the activity, or step 1, watch the video, and then go through all of the different steps that the kids are going to need to do to be able to complete the activity correctly. The more information you put in there, the better that they're going to do the activity. You can also add voice instructions. So you can go through every activity that I created. I did voice instructions where I just basically reread all of the directions so that kids could also listen to them if it was too overwhelming to read through each one. This next part is super important. So I'm going to go through each one of these so that you can know what they are. this little photo here, the camera, means that you are taking a photo right then and there. Okay, so that would mean that you are taking a picture of something. It uses the camera on your laptop or your desktop or whatever. This drawing is you're able to draw and show them something through the drawing, and I'll get into that screen in just a minute. This video here, that means that you are taking a video of yourself from your camera on your laptop or desktop or whatever, and it's going to be a video that will then be saved to the activity. Heads up, I never used this video or this photo. I always uploaded an already existing photo or existing video that I created. I did a lot of teaching videos in Seesaw last year. So I would record myself doing something and then upload it to the activity. So I would do it this way. You can either upload it either from your Google Drive or from your actual computer. So that was far more helpful than I found these two here. This is just adding a little notepad to it. And this was also, this little link here was sort of a savior for me. You can take any education related video and put the link in. You just copy the link and paste it. And then students can watch another video, whether it be an educational math video that somebody else has created. I found that I created the videos myself, but because of the tools that I had available to me in my home or even in my school at that point, were not quite as exciting and dynamic as some of the things that were already out there. So I mixed in some of, so that some lessons had those that were created by people that had a little bit more technology or tools a little bit more than I did. So those links are super helpful. It's really important for you to kind of understand this information that I have right here. So you can do all of these things that I just talked about, but what you need to know is you can add up to 10 images, like JPEGs or things like that, or one PDF or one video. So what we ran into a lot was trying to figure out, well, if I can only have one PDF and I can't have a video, how am I going to arrange this activity so that I can get things in there? So just know, this is one section here. This is sort of what I look at as here's the direction, here's the learning piece. And then this section here, down on the bottom, is the template. This is the doing piece. This is what you actually want students to do with information that they learn up here. So this is the same type of thing where you can add a template or you can add a PDF or things like that. But again, just a reminder that there is only one of the PDFs or one video you can put in here. I was a master at putting PDFs into JPEGs so that we could have more than one attachment here. If you had like a 2-page activity that you wanted them to do, or if you had more than one step, they can each be their own separate page here, but it will be something that you kind of might have to play with to be able to do that. So once you're done adding everything you need to add, you're going to save it. Okay, so once it's saved, then you can assign it the same way the other one was. The creating a new activity. This is interesting. I never used this, to be quite frank. I was saying before, I took a template from somebody, anybody, anytime that I could, but you can create a new activity and it will bring you a completely blank page and you can add in all the important information that you would like. Again, a reminder, 10 images, one PDF or one video can be added there. I wanted to put up an example activity because I really kind of feel like just for you to kind of see what I feel like is a model activity that is anybody can get access to it. It's in the free version of Seesaw and it's in the community folder. So some reasons I like this activity is even though they haven't stated that it's a learning target, they put a learning target on here. I also liked that they had the icons here that show what kids are going to be able to do, and they had multi-step directions here. I also like that they did the family why. I didn't do this on my activities last year, and now I'm like, I should have put this on here because it's really important for families to understand why the activities are being done as well. They also put in the information with a voice recording for what the steps are in the instructions were. And then this is just the teacher side of things, but they put their different learning targets in on the teacher side. So when you create the activity, you can add in what specific learning, like what your standards are and things like that on there. The kids don't see this, but it's kind of good as a reminder for teachers about which standards we're covering for an activity.
Somebody's asking if they can insert a Bitmoji classroom.
You can, so you want to be able to put Bitmojis on things and add things. There are ways to put icons and Bitmojis into Seesaw. I know that our Unified Arts teachers use them a lot when they were commenting on things. So I know that there's a way to do it. And there's ways that you can kind of paste them in and things like that. So when I'm showing you how to comment on something, it would kind of go there, but I don't have specific instructions for how to add those at this point. Okay, this I just wanted to show you because this is what you see on the template that you put on there on your any activity that you create. So if you have a worksheet and you upload a PDF or whatever, it will bring you into this screen. This is also what students see. So even though I don't have the student view, they see when they create activities and you have a template attached, they're able to do all of these specific things on an activity. So the do and redo becomes your best friend because if you don't have a touch screen, it's a little tricky to draw with a mouse. Or if you just kind of move around and you don't know what you did, you just undo. Students or yourself can create text boxes and labels for things. This draw and record, it's really a recording. They're able to record their thinking or record whatever you're asking them to be able to explain. You are also able to record this here. They can upload pictures from their iPads or Chromebooks or laptops or whatever, so that they can create collages. I use that like with scavenger hunts. I had kids take pictures of all different things and then they uploaded all the pictures onto the activity. They can add shapes. I used the arrow shape a lot when I was commenting on student work. So you'll get used to how to use the shapes and everything. They're able to create a caption. They're either able to type a caption or use a voice caption. I will tell you, I had students who used iPads last year, and for some reason, this microphone here didn't work for some of the kids, and we couldn't figure out why, if it was just they weren't able to use Chrome or whatever it was. So we had them use voice part of the caption, and they were still able to record their voices and things like that. You can draw with all of these different drawing tools, erase, and then all of these colors are available. So you can mark up activities or things like that. The other thing that's helpful for creating or modifying activities is this. I wish I had last year. This is a little sort of cheat sheet for all those fun icons that you see when people are doing their directions. So all of these little icons can be used so that kids know what they're being asked to do. So if you have this, they know that they're going to take a photo and use the photo part, or they're going to look at the link that's provided. The way to do this on the activities is when you're typing in the activity and you want to say, please watch the link, and you want it to be this fun little icon here, you just type in the colon, the word link, and another colon. And once you save the activity, it will have this little icon in it instead. Know that you have to save the activity before the icon shows up. You'll see this in your directions, but then once you save it, this will show up. I messed up these, I messed up a lot with these and forgot the second colon. And I'd save my activity and I would say, why isn't my icon in there? And then I knew I had to go back and put the other colon in to make these fun icons show up. So after you create activities and you assign them, you are going to get kids that are going to be putting those activities in, and you'll want to be able to accept them and comment on the activities. So I want to go through that. To be able to do that, on my screen here, you will see I have, if I click on my journal, it will tell me I have 2 unapproved posts and I have my 2 here. For me as a teacher, this would make me crazy if this was too high, because that meant I have a lot of activities that I needed to respond to. So I always tried to keep it as low as possible and get into there periodically to make sure that I was commenting and accepting children's work. So to do that, to be able to accept it, you will click right here and you will choose review. Once you choose this, I made this a little bit smaller because what I want you to do is that you're going to scroll down here, and I want to show you what the screen looks like on the bottom. But you also know here, there's this approve all. You can click that and it will just approve the kids' work, and it will just sort of move on to other things, and they'll know it's approved, and it will move into their journal for them to see. You can always go into the journal for each student over here and view it. I never did that because my point was, if I created an activity and assigned it to my class, I wanted to see how they were doing and I wanted to see how they did with it. So to do that, you're just going to scroll down over here and you'll be able to see the bottom of the activity. I do have a little bit of trouble with the Seesaw screens. You can't always see everything, so there's a kind of a lot of scrolling down. So once you scroll down, you will see that this will show up. So this is the top of the activity. After I scroll down, this is the bottom. And you'll see these little areas down on the bottom. There's the like, the comment. This has to do with standards and the folders. You can just like an activity and move on, and take a peek at it and accept it, but I always commented on it. So you click on the comment and it would bring you to this screen here. You're able to type your message here, or you're able to record a voice comment. I typed a lot of my comments, but I always made sure too that I recorded some of my comments specifically for kids that I thought needed a little bit more explanation with words rather than a completely wordy comment. And I also feel like, especially if you're going to be doing remote learning, students need to hear your voice as much as you can. They don't get you walking by them, giving them a thumbs up in the classroom and things like that. So I do feel like that kids need little shout outs and sort of moments of like saying, woohoo, you did a great job. So recording your voices, I think, is going to be really important. Once you do either one of those things, you're just going to click post. I can tell you, I typed in a lot of my comments and realized I had typos. So then you can go right back in and you can edit it and then post it with the correct information. Or if you post it and say, wait, I didn't want to actually do that. I'm going to change my comment and go into the activity and make changes. You can delete it and then go right into the activity. So if you can see here, I have put in a comment to say, this is nice work, but I want them to fill in the whole section rather than just putting in these dots. So you can actually, after you comment or even before you comment, you can edit an item here and you can edit the activity and it will bring you again right into the screen I've talked to you about with all that do, redo, and all of these things. You can put a little arrow here. I could highlight and say, color these in here and say, see, this is what I'm talking about. I would like you to color it in like I have. And you can do any sort of editing you want on this for the student. And then once you edit, save it, you can either approve it at that point or you can send it back. If you approve it, it goes to their journal page and comes off of their to-do list. If you send it back, it stays on the to-do list with all of your comments in there. And then you can also add a comment saying, please before you get back, you would want to add the comment to say, please take a peek and see if you can make the changes and then resend it to me or resubmit it. So if you approve it, it will go right into their folder on your main area, and it will go into their folders on their side as well. So this is what we have covered today in a very quick fashion. General overview, how to set up a new class, adding students and inviting families, assigning activities, and then accepting and commenting on activities. This does, I will say I do have some just sort of general questions that was not necessarily able to answer that were sent in before this Seesaw lesson. I know that there's a couple of admin out there that say how can they best support their teachers. I'd say for administrators supporting your teachers, you just need to be, just know that it's not simple and easy, and that us teachers are doing the best we can, and just giving them as much information and PD as you can is going to be key. Hopefully we'll be able to continue with these Seesaw webinars and doing a little bit more getting into the nitty-gritty and diving a little deeper into Seesaw over the next couple of weeks, and we will certainly push out information to you folks as well. Another question that I had that I just wanted to make sure that was understood. A couple people asked about grades in Seesaw and things like that. we didn't really do grades in Seesaw. You're able to look at student work and you're able to comment on it and see how they're doing. And you always look in their folders to say, okay, this is in general how this student is doing. But there isn't really a grading process within Seesaw. So that you'd have to do that sort of in a different application. Just taking a peek at some of the questions.
Heather, can I ask a couple questions from people?
Sure.
One of them was, can you demonstrate how to communicate with parents? I feel like that's a pretty good basic start for people.
Yeah, so communicating with parents, a lot of the communication I had with parents wasn't necessarily through Seesaw. There's blogs, and then you can also send a communication out, like a general sort of like this is what's in my classroom today or whatever. There are ways to be able to send notes and things like that through Seesaw. It's a little bit more advanced than what we were able to get to today, but it is definitely an option to be able to send out general communications to parents. A lot of the communication I had, again, was via email, and it was making sure that the kids had their QR codes or their class codes, and just saying, this is what we have in Seesaw today. Make sure your student is looking at what, because I had such a young age group that I was working with, and it was so new for everybody to do the remote learning. So hopefully that answers it. If not, maybe ask more detailed question. I'm not sure. Anything else?
Yes, we do have some others. Hold on, let me scroll up to the top. Everyone, thank you so much for your patience so Heather could get through and hopefully answer some of the questions before you ask them.
I was going to move on to I just want to make sure that you guys know this is a specific webinar today. We've got just webinars coming up, and then answer the rest of the questions just so that we can make sure we get through this here. Every webinar that we've had in the past, you're able to kind of see on our Demonstrated Success website. And we also have a YouTube channel. So any webinars that we've had either in the classroom or this particular one will be able to be viewed on our YouTube page. And then I just want to make sure to get to this page. This is my email address, Anne and Beth as well. And you'll get all the links to this document in a certificate. Okay, other questions?
That's right. And also to mention that on Wednesday, we have Google Classroom webinar. In the morning, and then in the afternoon, interim and assessments. Just check our website regularly. It's being updated weekly. And again, we're always looking for your input on what you'd like to see. But back to the questions here. Yes. Let me see. Let me scroll up to the top. Can we change the enable for each assignment? That was the very beginning of the webinar that I did not get to. I'm not quite.
Okay, so tell me again the enable.
I'm so sorry. It came in. Denise, if you want to write to me again with more detail than that, it says, can we change the enable for each assignment? I didn't ask it at the very beginning.
I would think that maybe that what they're talking about is, can you change the students that are being assigned something each assignment? And yes, you are able to change it. Depending on the assignment, you would choose whatever students that you wanted for that assignment. You can also go through, even if you, like I had a student that ended up being out for a certain amount of time for whatever reason, and I took his activities, even though I had assigned them to him, and I just went into each one of those activities and took his name out so that he didn't come in and wasn't inundated with activities when he came back.
Good idea. Can you choose to share student responses on an activity by activity basis? So for example, say I want to have the students see an all about me activity to get to know each other, but she doesn't want the students to see all of the other students' work.
No, sorry, it's all or nothing from what I understand. We started it and it was because it was enabled to begin with, and we turned it off right away. But you can't, if you changed it and said that students could see each other's work, it would be on everything.
Okay. If you teach a variety of grade levels, so you're a unified arts teacher, but the same subject, will the activity option intuitively suggest your subject area?
I believe not your subject area. No, it will intuitively know your grade level, but not necessarily your subject area. Because it doesn't really, I don't really put in general classroom teacher when I create mine. You wouldn't necessarily put in music teacher or whatever, but you could always choose it in the drop down.
Okay, thank you. When I try to record directions in an activity, the microphone blocks the directions, so I can't see the directions as I attempt to read them out loud. Do you have a fix for this problem? Did they just
it is a little tricky. I was able to, you should be able to see at least part of your screen, and you can scroll up and down on part of your screen as well. So whenever I was doing the directions, I always kind of had to finagle my screen on the right-hand side and use my up and down arrows. But if you have a really long list of of directions, you couldn't necessarily see all of them. So sometimes I would just kind of cheat and write them on a piece of paper or things like that. But yeah, the user interface is not quite it's hard to see if you have a really long list of activities. Yes. When you say the microphone blocks it, the little thing pops up and it says you were able to use your microphone, and then you hit record from there. So it does show a little bit over your screen. I agree, it's a little bit tricky.
Okay, how do I send out photos of class activities we're doing?
Photos of class activities, like photos, like meaning like classroom photos that you've taken, or like I have a photo that I want to upload to an activity so that kids can see what I'm talking about.
I don't know. Angela, if you can hear me, if you're still on, why don't you just elaborate a bit more? We'll try and circle back to that. Is there a more detailed user guide?
I would say that the Seesaw website in general has a pretty decent, sort of array of things, but I have not necessarily seen like a detailed user guide. So I guess if you have specific things that you would like to know about it, I could try to get you that information if you want to share what you're looking for, but I have never been able to find or download a complete user guide for Seesaw.
Okay. Is there a way to offer an optional activity without using the assign process, just for fun that doesn't have to be turned in?
No, not to, and there could be like, if you enable the blog, you could do sort of it, you could do it through a blog post and say, this is the activity that we want you to do. But even if we said, we had a lot of, on Fridays, we had project-based learning. So we had a few activities, and some of the activities was like, just watch this fun video of this author, you know, reading their own book. There was nothing for them to do. They just accepted the activity when they were done. And I just knew at that point, those are the ones that I was like, oh, I like it. Okay, great. You know, or, oh, I hope you loved hearing the author read this portion or whatever. But any activity that you assign needs to be submitted and accepted to come off of their to-do list.
Great. How do you organize your daily, weekly activities so that each activity isn't listed individually?
It is listed. Any activity that you do in Seesaw is going to be listed individually, because you want them to be able to say, I finished this particular activity and submit that portion of the activity. We found that if we had too much information, like on our first activity, we had sort of multiple things that kids were doing. And what we had to do is, so they would do one portion of it and they would think, okay, now I'm going to submit it, but they hadn't done the other couple of portions. We always had to send those back, and then they would resubmit with what they needed in there, and it got really confusing. So the way that we did was on, you know, Monday, we had specific activities that we put in. We had a math activity, a reading activity, and usually a writing activity. And those 3 activities were scheduled on that specific day. And then the next day, new activities were there. And if the student didn't, you know, finish them from the day before, they would still show on their to-do list.
Great. Let's see here. Will Seesaw keep track of the standards you've done?
Yeah, we didn't do it. We didn't use it that way, but I believe that little academic little symbol has specific standards, but it's not as easy to do as, you know, it's not just a quick click. So yes and no.
Can you explain the new items require approval option?
The new items require approval. Oh, that was when you when we had chosen, let me go back, I can find it. It's in classroom settings. When you have it turned on that you want students to be able to see each other's work, this new items require approval. So any new item that is commented on would require you to approve it before kids can see it. So that's super helpful if you have kids commenting on each other's work. Nobody can see it until you approve it.
So in classroom settings, you need to approve for others to see?
Yeah, it's right on, I have it pulled up on my right now for new items.
I'm trying to type the answers to people
Yeah,
too.
no, I totally, yep, it's right in classroom settings.
Oh, okay. Angela wrote back, I think, a second part of her question. Example, second graders are planting seeds photo sent out to all parents or if they are on a field trip. Angela, maybe you might want to write me like everything in full, because I think I've, oh, that's right. How do I send out photos of class activities we're doing? She added, for example, second graders are planting seeds. So she has a photo of them. She wants to send it out to all the parents on a field trip. Is there a way to share a photo she takes with everyone?
I believe when you are sending out a classroom, like posting I'm losing my words here. If you are posting something and sending out like a reminder or a thought, you can add an actual photo to it, like a classroom announcement. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So I believe you can add a photo to classroom announcements.
Great. I want to point out to everyone as well, thank you, Karen Stanley. She Googled for the Seesaw user guide. I posted it in the in the chat section as well. She had it in the Q&A. I don't know if everyone can see that, so I put it in the chat section. We will also have it in your, I'll add it to the email that goes out to you tomorrow as well. And then let's see. Oh, the boom cards question, which I don't know what that is still. I didn't have a chance to look.
Yeah, I'm not sure what
Boom cards, Patricia, we're not sure on that. I'm sorry. And it says 2 participants have their hand raised. Can you see who that is? 2 attendees. Here we are. Heather and Hope. Can I click on them to allow someone to talk? Is that all right with you, Heather?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Hope? Are you there? Hi, are you there? Did you mean to raise your hand? All right, we'll try Deb. Deb, are you there? Deb, are you there? Did you want to ask a question? Okay, so maybe those were mistakes. Okay, let's see here. Another question. Can each school create a central directory of students and parent names and other contact information for teachers to draw from? Or does each entry need to be recreated by hand by each teacher for each class? Oh.
Yeah, I think that that would probably be, from what I could see, my administrator did all of that. I didn't have to recreate and do my student information in. So I believe that there is a way for somebody to upload all of that and put it into the specific classroom teachers.
Okay.
But I'm not certain because it was not done by me.
And is there a preschool option? I thought I saw the pre-K on the drop-down list, correct?
I believe that there is information in there for kiddos that are in pre-K, definitely kindergarten. And I'm pretty sure that there is.
It was pre-K listed in the options
Yeah.
when it first started, so yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though that's below. Any other questions we can get to? Please feel free. I'm going to unmute and see where we go from there.
Yeah, the other thing that the other couple of questions we had to do with like a Google Meet code or a how do they like embed something like that in there. And I believe like for anything like we used Freckle and things like that. When we wanted them to do Freckle in the direction part, we put the link in for how to get into Freckle and things like that. So there's definitely ways that you can put those links in, and it's usually in the direction.
Okay. Great. If anyone else would like to ask a question, I've unmuted everyone. You're welcome to ask, or you're welcome to type in still. Again, we want to remind you that this PowerPoint will be sent to you tomorrow. The links will be sent to you tomorrow as well. We have a survey for you to answer, respond to us, and tell us about this webinar and what else you'd like to see. And on Wednesday, we have Google Classroom, and we also have in the afternoon interim assessments, giving them remotely webinar. Just give it a minute here. I'm seeing the numbers drop down, but I'm not. Oh, let's see here. I looked on the demonstrated success for up. Oh, okay. Linda, she said she looked on demonstrated success for upcoming webinars, but she did not see another Seesaw training for staff yet. We do not have another one planned. We will plan one probably tonight. we will get
this. We have lots of ideas.
Day. So sorry about that, Linda. We did not realize we had a lot of people register for this over the weekend. So we did not plan another one yet. Another one will be coming, and just watch the website and you will see something posted. And then how do we find training for GC? Oh, Google Classroom, that must be. Training for Google Classroom, we have a wonderful webinar with Jacqueline, who's done our trainings before, all of our Google trainings. She's fantastic. It is this Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. and we'd love to have you on it. Please register. If you can't see it, if you can't get to it at 10 a.m. this Wednesday, it is found on our YouTube channel. She did do one back in, I can't remember if it was June or July. But anyway, there is one on our YouTube channel, and there is one live that will also be recorded this Wednesday at 10 a.m. Thank you, Karen Stanley, Dave Verano, and anyone else interested. You can register for any upcoming webinars right on our website. Go to our website, go to workshops and webinars. You'll see them listed there. There's a link. It says click here. You click there and just throw in your name and your title and your school. And it's as easy as that. And then you'll get an automated email sent to you saying you've registered. And then all of our webinars offer all of our webinars send you a reminder email one day before and then 1 hour before whatever webinar you have registered for. And then after all of our webinars, it takes 24 hours, but the following day you get the link with your professional development certificate and the PowerPoint and anything else you need. You guys have been wonderful. Every one of you that has been actively involved in this, we thank you. There was a very large number of you on, and everybody was wonderful. We will get back to all of you. If you come up with questions that you are starting to play around with this and you have a question tonight, tomorrow, next week, please don't hesitate to reach out to us as well. Don't forget to also look on Seesaw. They do have a very helpful site, but we don't have a problem helping you with that. And also maybe building a webinar out from that, because we find that often questions are similar from lots of people. So it's certainly worthy of paying some attention to and answering in a larger population, for a larger population. So
yes, if you have other questions and things like that too, one of the things that you'll gain access to is the Excel spreadsheet with all of the questions from Thursday's webinar and today's. So if you are not sure, or you say, I know she answered that, but I'm not sure exactly what it was, we should have that updated in the next little bit of time so that you can always have access to that as well.
Thank you. Workshops and webinars. I'm sorry, the typing you hear is me responding to some of your questions, trying to make sure that not only do I say it out loud for you, but I also type you a response. Natasha, is Thursday's webinar different than today's? The webinar we're referring to that was last Thursday, August 27th, was the exact same webinar you see today. Everyone is pointed to the same folder. With all the questions will be there, the questions from Thursday and the questions from today. So I think having you be able to, print it off and read through it will be very helpful. And we will offer another as well. It seems to be something that people want to know more about. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I would say that this probably webinar was a better one when it came to the questions that were asked. I think that this is a little bit probably more helpful than the one on Thursday. So if you were part of this one, then you're in luck because you had a little bit more information about some of the questions that people had in between.
I'd like to point out, I'm just going back, I missed a question way at the beginning. Someone asked, how do I upgrade my Seesaw account? You can't necessarily do it as a teacher. That's something that your school has to decide. So talk to your admin. That's important.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me see if I've seen any others. Again, thank you all for your patience as we scroll through all the questions. And I think we've got it.
All right.
Thank you all, to everyone. Thank you, Heather. That was fantastic. A lot of information, good questions.
Yeah, my email address is right here. So if you have specifics about what you would like to see in the next Seesaw webinar, please don't hesitate. Just put Seesaw in the subline, and I will make sure to kind of keep that all together. I know that probably a lot of what people want to see is what does the student interface look like, all of that kind of stuff, and just some more advanced features. and being able to go through and show you exactly what you can do to add things to activities and walk you through those steps. But what we wanted to make sure that we were doing during this one is to create a PowerPoint that walks you through everything step by step. But probably one of the webinars coming up would be a little bit more live, showing you this is what I'm doing right now, and this is what it looks like from the student standpoint and things like that. But if you have anything else, please forward it to myself or the info@demonstratedsuccess.com email, and we will do what we can to be able to get you guys what you need for Seesaw.
Okay.
All right.
I think we've got it.
All right. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Enjoy, enjoy. Thanks, Heather. Stay healthy.